Why hello there, it's young boy, Fuzzy, coming at ya from the interwebs. Welcome to the most amazing place in the universe. Part 2 of Retro in Review. Toy Story 2, Buzz Lightyear to the rescue. Funny, that all rhymed. If you have not yet seen Part 1, then pause this video now, so you can go watch it. Otherwise, you'll have no idea what is going on. Anyway, I better leave before Sean notices I hacked the intro to this video, so enjoy Part 2, everyone!
On to the next level, Owl's Space Land. And already the music is a lot more intense than previous levels. Don't get me wrong, it fits the level, given that this level is definitely themed around space and fighting a lot of Zurg robot enemies. It's definitely more like a battle against an evil invading force. And the starting area definitely reflects that. There seems to be every single Zurg enemy type around here, and I don't know if it's intentional or not, but it seems like they respawn a lot quicker than usual. So the first thing I do is climb up these hanging planets, leaping from pole to pole to collect the alien, which we'll have to return to, I guess, this spacecraft toy once we find all 5. From up here you can also jump onto some boxes which will lead you to the most disappointing of mini-bosses in the game. It's just a clone of Buzz and a fucking car shooting missiles at you. Honestly, fighting another U should have been an entire boss level. It could have been something akin to facing off against Dark Link in Ocarina of Time, for example. Fighting a foe that uses your exact moveset, overcoming your own strengths and exploiting your weaknesses. But no, just spam your laser at this dickhead so you can finally stop the goddamn noise of the motor perforating your eardrums. Oh, by the way, the texture of the car is completely fucked as well, as you can see. Just across from the boss area is the arcade, and there's a few things in here I gotta talk about. We got a claw machine that has a token inside of it, and we have to fish it out with the claw, which is a timing-based puzzle activated with the switch here that you have to ground pound. And it's really fucking particular when it comes to accuracy. You have to get the fucking claw to drop just at the right time in the right position in order to successfully get a grip on it. Like, look at this shit. How? It was right over it! Of course, once you finally get the claw to drop just right, and I don't know what was different that time, but okay, you collect the token that the machine just shat out onto the floor. There's also a ball pit, just fucking here, like it kind of seems out of place, but whatever, I guess. There's just an alien, an enemy, and some coins in here. No vomit in this ball pit to be found, fortunately. Finally, there's the arcade cabinets, which unfortunately you can't play, but wait a minute. You know, there's just something off about these games. Something sus about them in particular, among these arcade cabinets. These video games aren't even real, and they're called Lightyear. Moving on to another area, past some enemies and obstacles, we've got to race against this UFO thing on zip lines through the toy aisles. It's not too hard, and I didn't manage to stuff up once in my playthrough, but getting footage for this, I can imagine my annoyance, since if you fall, you do have to make your way out of this hallway of aisles. There's also an alien to collect at the end of the race, and that's pretty much it. Finally, the last area of this level is a trek through the Buzz Lightyear and Emperor Zurg aisles, which is fine for the most part, just a few swings at the start. I get fired by tennis balls. That's what they look like. There's at least a justified use case for once for the energy shield in a little section where there's laser fire going on all around me. I guess this is the middle of a battle between the Zurgs and the Buzzers. Buzz-eye. What exactly is the plural for Buzz?
Fuzzy boys, Fuzzinga.
Though I have to point out something. I noticed that the Zurg boxes seem to have Zurgs in them, but no buzzers in the Buzz box. No buzzers in the Buzz. Why do I keep wanting to say BuzzBox toys? No buzzers in the Buzz toy boxes. There we go. Anyway, collect the alien, and there's a few jumps with enemies here and there, and another alien is also at the end, along with him. Give him the money for his hedge funds to get our pizza token. Return the aliens to the UFO, and that's the level. And we don't have to return to this place because, well, the level is now 100% complete. Looking at you, previous levels. This next boss stage is actually a pretty decent boss battle overall. There's a bit more to it than just spamming your laser like in the previous few boss fights. You gotta actually aim in first person at the thing's weak point, and you have to get distance from it, otherwise it'll zap you with its laser, forcing you out of first person, and every time you take some of its health, one of its arms cracks open, revealing tougher and more numerous opponents as the fight progresses. I actually like this boss fight a lot, and it's probably what I would consider the best boss fight in the game. Is that a spoiler? Kind of, but you'll see why as we get to the next few levels. This boss fight actually challenges you and engages you to try something different. Sure, it's not a particularly difficult boss fight, but it has different stages that aren't just spamming your laser and tanking the hits against yourself until the boss dies. So yeah, I've not got any complaints. I wish that the rest of the bosses in the game could be this interesting. But as we'll soon find out, this is the best we're getting. This is also the last we'll see of the Zurg type enemies as well. The next stage, Elevator Hop. Straight away, the music hits you with that feeling of intensity, maybe even a little panic and anxiety, like I'm looking down upon a void and seeing a never-ending depth. And rightfully so, you're talking about a vertical stage here where falling from great heights are going to be a big factor into your stress levels. So I definitely think this dramatic sound fits perfectly. Now, speaking about the level itself, I don't hate it. I'm sort of okay with it existing, I guess. It's not exactly a trivial level, it's a tower level where essentially your pucker will invert into your internal organs and turn you inside out. You know what, statistically, there's someone watching this video right now that's fucking into that. It starts off fine enough at the base of the elevator shaft. Potato Head is down here with an ultimate quest to find his foot, because, you know, he needs pictures to post to Only Spuds.
One utility belt with grappling hook.
What?
One utility belt with grappling hook.
Terminator with grappling hook. There's a little area with a bunch of electrical hazards that you'll need to time swings and jumps just right in order to avoid taking damage. Ham is here, of course. Well, hi, Buzz. If you can be an idiot and give me 50 coins, I'll give you a pizza. Stop fucking lying to me, cunt! Potman's shoe can be found not too far away from that bastard, and a toy mouse, which is our lost toy collectible for this stage. Returning the shoe to Patty O'Heedy finally gets us the grappling hook, which, yes, we'll need that for alleys and gullies. Now we can aim at and be pulled towards these red circled X's, which I think are valves, maybe? I don't know if that's the intention or not, but I guess that's what we're grappling to. Using this in the vents is quite simple. It's a linear climb with a few hazards to avoid, coins to collect, a mouse, and this is also the first appearance of the snake enemy. These are toy snakes, by the way, and not real ones, which is what I thought at first. By the way, just adding this as I realized while editing this, yeah, this is the last of the Zurg enemies. Because I just forgot about it, and I mean now just discovering it again while editing the video, so yeah. No more Zurg enemies after this stage. Climbing your way up through the vents, you eventually reach a little control panel area where a token floats behind a barrier. And there's a puzzle we have to solve in the console here to open said barrier and to get the elevators working. It's fairly easy to work out what you have to do, just stomp the buttons in the correct order, really. There's also an awkward to get mouse walking around on the ceiling here. It's placed really fucking weird. That took me a few times to finally get it. Lastly, make sure you've stomped on the lever here. Believe me, it'll save you a trip when you fall during this next bit. Also, it's probably the most dramatic way to yeet up a ventilation system.
They like to spin.
First off, there's a mouse, just, you know, walking around on the fucking wall here, and yeah, the only way to get it is to aim your fall just right. And if you miss it, or any jump for that matter in this section, the result is kinda hilarious, because Buzz doesn't quite grasp the concept of screaming for dear life down a long fall. Again, there's no damage nor death upon landing, and I guess I should thank the person who decided to put this vent here that spins you all the way back up to the control room. But anyway, now on to how the actual elevator platforming works. It's a little confusing at first, and I admit it's still confusing, even looking at the footage of it again, and I still can't figure out what's going on here, but you've got two columns of elevators with platforms to jump onto, and as far as I can tell, the two elevators work on a timed ascent and descent system, but it's out of sync in regards to it being practical in a platforming sense. Look, let me give a recent example, like the issue in Revenge of the Flying Dutchman at Chum World, the big top, right? Where the swings were out of time with each other. There's no pattern to actually get used to, it's just a matter of patience rather than skill. Same thing here, really. Sometimes both elevators are going up and down at the same time because one elevator is going faster than the other, it seems, so it creates this out-of-time loop that's just unreliable. I don't know whether this is an issue in the other versions, but it's definitely an issue here. So eventually working out a pattern, I guess, of this and reaching the very top of the shaft, there is a level here to stomp along with the last mouse toy. Just across from here is a mouse with a top hat, which is a little confusing, but it's not the mouse we return these little guys to, by the way. Instead, he's got a race for us to do. We gotta slide down the vents and beat the pizza token to the bottom to earn it. I didn't fuck this up once, but I can see what would have happened if I did. Reaching the bottom, you have to wait for the token until it's ready and collect it. Then get yourself up to the very top of the shaft again and make your way over to the mini-boss of the stage.
Ha 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 ha! Defeat the Spider Guru boss to get a pizza planet!
Oh my god, could you imagine an entire pizza planet? You get a bunch of retro and modern arcade machines, sideshows, skill testers, that shitty-ass time block machine with prizes that clearly entice you to putting in more money into it. You know you're not gonna fucking win the prize, but you still fucking, maybe even rides and bowling and laser tag. That's pretty fun. And then, of course, the fucking pizza. Oh, the pizza!
Token.
What do I... So, I can literally just talk over this in real time. Like, this isn't even scripted. I'm watching the footage right now. It does not take long to kill this boss. Like, look. Just look at this shit. I mean, I guess the only annoying bit is spinning me right round like a record baby right round, but that's literally it. And then look, dead. And that's the boss fight. Fucking riveting stuff. Finally, it's time to do a trick fall landing on this narrow pole that I totally meant to do, return the mice to the mother mouse, pay Ham's child support because he's a dick, and exit the level in style.
To infinity and beyond!
Next stage is Owl's penthouse, and... It sounds like Toad is on a train and bandits are shooting at him from horseback. Upon entering the level, yes, this is indeed a penthouse, certainly a fancy penthouse with a collection of rooms full of new Western-themed toy enemies. The snakes are here again, as well as flying vultures and also a gun-toting bandito enemy. And the soundtrack is, of course, very appropriate for the level. Definitely invokes that Wild West cowboy theme. Wouldn't be out of place in a game like Red Dead Redemption, for example. Or out of place in a Clint Eastwood film. To start off, Bullseye is here with a timed collection challenge. Collect 5 horseshoes in 26 seconds.
Or else you will die.
No, not really. There's more involved than the last collection challenge, sure, but it's not saying much really. I mean, the only thing you have to worry about, I guess, is the cannon firing at you, which you can disable by platforming your way around and up the living room to ground pound a button. There's not really a point to it, it doesn't get you anything, and neither does destroying all the other cannons in the penthouse for that matter, but it is on the way to a critter you have to collect for Jesse, who's in the kitchen. And just let me point something out, Owl keeps a lock on his fridge. Lord knows he needs it. And the kitchen itself is a simple area with the only goal being to get the critter on top of a shelf. Kind of similar to the kitchen from Andy's house, but this one feels more barren than the last one. The next areas are more interesting, however. First off, you need to push the box into one of these rooms. First one I go in, however, is the display room, where all the Woody's Roundup merchandise is. A decent area overall, and a lot of attention to detail on the various objects, not only that you interact with, but also just in the shelf as clutter, which serves as a nod to the movie. You know, even given the limitations of the textures, I kinda dig this area a lot. When I saw that scene as a kid with all the Woody merchandise being lit up and then being played with by Woody and Jesse, you can imagine being that size and having fun with it all. This area, of course, culminates into a showdown of sorts in a cool kind of western playset with the mini-boss. Defeat the gunslinger boss to get a pizza. I don't believe you. Planet Token. You fucking idiot. And he's dead. Who's the idiot now, dipshit? The next area you have to move the box again into Al's pimped out train-themed bedroom with landscaped wallpaper, brickwork cabinets, and a model train track surrounding the room. Even his bed is a goddamn train. So the point of this area is just to work out this frankly annoying fucking train track puzzle, which took me a fair while to work out as I kept changing the direction of the tracks, going back and forth, seeing where the train was going to be. Now, the whole idea of this puzzle is you have to get the train to park itself on one end of the track, so you can then push a box all the way from the other end of the track to the bed, which does take almost a minute to do, by the way, so you can then climb on top of the train-themed bed to finally collect the token hanging out up there. And no, you can't push the box while the train is operating, it gets stopped. But, you know, instead of wasting your time in this puzzle, you can just do this. That's right, you can smell the cheddar. And that's all for that room, thankfully. Kind of a missed opportunity for, say, a Wild West model train set room, which would have made more sense, actually, and would have been a lot more interesting. The final area is the bathroom, and shit's about to get crazy. And I'm not talking about the toilet. Hi, Buzz. If you can get me 50 coins, I'll give you a pizza. Like I said, shit's about to get crazy. How crazy? We're about to flood the fucking bathroom. And I don't mean just a little bit. We're goddamn flooding the shit out of this motherfucker. All the way to almost the goddamn ceiling. And if we fuck up a jump on these sponges once, we have to drain all the water from the bathtub, or just walk out of the room and it drains, I guess, don't ask me how, and then flood the motherfucker again. How do you fill a high-rise apartment's bathroom up with water? Can someone test it and get back to me on that? Well, at least it's a keyboard, I guess. So anyway, we turn Al's bathroom into a redneck pool party, all to collect a singular critter, and that's it really. Let me just say it again for posterity's sake. We, a toy spaceman action figure, flood a high-rise apartment bathroom to save another toy. I wish I had the originality to make this shit up. Giving Ham his alimony payments and returning all the critters to Jesse, that's the end of this level. And now, we finally come face to face with
The evil Emperor Zurg, sworn enemy of the Galactic Alliance.
in the elevator, and oh my god, Jesus on a cream tart cross. This is the worst fucking texture glitch I've ever seen in this game. I mean, at least before it was subtle and you can hardly notice it on most things. His whole fucking model is a corruption. It's like he's made of fucking pixelated ass energy. So, I was trying for about 5 minutes or so to figure how to attack Zurg. I can't shoot him, my laser just deflects off him, batting the balls he shoots does nothing. I can't even get close enough to him to spin attack, he keeps magnetically pushing away from me. What the fuck is going on? Is this a glitch? Am I missing something obvious here? I know I derp from time to time. I certainly have my big brain moments during live streams, I know that, but surely something is up technically here. Well, as it turns out, something is definitely up. Now, the problem with the PC this is literally just a gun. Now, the problem with the PC version is, well, they didn't exactly program the game to take advantage of hardware that would have probably come out a few years, maybe after this game, namely a processor faster than 500 megahertz, I guess. For those wondering what that means, basically Zurg's animation is tied to the frame rate the game is running at. This was a common occurrence with a lot of games back in the day, and even some games today, it seems. I guess they just didn't anticipate that some dickhead would try to play the game through to this point on a machine 24 years more advanced than the game was developed for, and upon saying that, I feel even fucking older. There's an easy way and a hard way to go about this. The easy way is to limit the frame rate to 30 FPS through a program called River Tuner Server, and bada bing bada boom, you can finally kill this cheating wankface. He's still kind of a shit bitch though, because sometimes he still magnetically pushes himself away from you and the camera fucks about the place. I should mention there is another fix for this, but I wasn't made aware of it at the time of writing this entire bit. Look, this review on and off has taken 3 fucking years to make. With a re-recording of the game, and almost a complete rewrite. Cut me some slack. Or, there's the hard way. Fail spectacularly with trial and error, and eventually get him into a corner so you can use the spinning charge attack on him, and try to bounce off him rather than fall and lose a life. Keep doing that until he finally keels over the edge and dies. Guess which way I tried first. The hard way. Yeah, I wasn't gonna let this shit fucking cheating bastard beat me into submission. Took me a while to find out how I could defeat him. I knew something was wrong and I suspected that it could be tied to frame rate, but I was determined to kill this son of a bitch, even when the game was trying to fuck me over. I guess I was so starved for a challenging boss, and finally getting an almost unbeatable boss, I broke. My mind just fucking goddamn Borkin. Broke so hard, even the spelling and grammar broke. So unless you're a fucking deranged lunatic like I am, yeah, just pick the easy way, okay? After that bit of nonsense, the next level is airport infiltration.
Buzz Lightyear to Star Command. Come in, Star Command. Star Command, come in. Do you read me?
Loud and clear. What's the situation?
My ship has crash-landed here by mistake.
Just as I expected.
Terrain seems a bit unstable, and there seems to be no sign of intelligent life anywhere.
Excellent. Age hasn't slowed you down one bit.
It's not really a sneaking mission in the vein of MGS. That would have been cool though if there was a stealth section or something like that to shake the gameplay up a bit. But the music fits at least for the name of the stage. Kinda makes me think of a spy going through the vents of a secret facility, knocking out henchmen and gathering intelligence. The stage itself starts off fine. You're at the bottom of these conveyors, fighting your way past snakes and banditos. You bounce on the suitcase to get up to the first conveyor belt, utilizing the non-bouncing cases as you move on the belt, and swinging on monkey bars to the other conveyor. And then bouncing on one of these suitcases to then find...
Hi, Buzzy boy.
No, we're not doing this shit again.
I'll give you a pizza.
Bacon. Now, what was I talking about again? Oh, right. After traversing back all the way you came, but using the higher parts of the conveyors to your advantage, you find and collect a little tyke, the lost toy collectible for the level. You then go onto a more vertical area where you jump from conveyor to conveyor, avoiding enemies, climbing poles, swinging on things, and avoiding more enemies, and collect another little tyke at the very top. And that's all that's there. Really all this area builds up to is to collect one thing, which it's fine, I guess, but it kind of feels a little anticlimactic, you know? If it was for a pizza token, that would have been less of a letdown at least. Down at the very bottom seems to be the center area to the rest of the level, and it's covered in oil spills, which again shows this city has no care for health and safety. There's also a time challenge that the steroid dude gives you, and of course we have to collect 5 barbells in 1 minute. They're a little more hidden than in the previous challenges, like they're not all just in this area. You have to actually go through the little vent opening to the other areas to collect 2 of them, and there's also one hidden on top of the conveyor belt where you entered from. It did take me 2 tries to complete this one, so that's something, I guess. This is also the last time collection challenge in the game, so make of that what you will. The area accessed just under the conveyor is a room with a tower of luggage, and Mr. Potato Head has no mouth, and he must cream. It's supposed to be scream, but I wrote it as cream. I'm going to keep that in. He just muffles some dialogue, but somehow manages to say hover boots and mouth. So I guess he just made that noise with his ass then. And thank God that's not a Mr. Potato Head piece. Anyway, we need those hover boots because there's no other way to climb up these suitcases. The mouth can be found in a room just across from this one, and we'll have to deal with seesaw physics once again on these detached hanging wings. And this entire room's platform elements are a plane under construction, I guess. It might explain the oil spill, but this sure is a fucking weird way to construct a plane in such a small space. Anyway, grab the mouth, don't do anything that Jesus wouldn't do with it, give it to Head Portman, and finally you get access to the hover boots. And this is the absolute worst fucking power-up in this game. I'm not even exaggerating. So, they do exactly as the name suggests. Hover, but not really well. There's a limit to the height they can go, but trying to control your trajectory with these things ends up being way more janky than it needs to be. And also, this is the most useless power-up since it's only available in this level and Al's Toy Barn, which we will get to after this one, don't you worry your sweet little butt. Speaking about butts, the prospector, Stanky Pete, is up on the conveyor belt after the hover boots section. And oh my sweet mother of absolute holy fucking hell, what the fuck is this? The prospector has become Stanky Pete. Just what the fuck happened? I mean, the brown noise textures alone are something, but he is missing his nipples currently. The poor bastard. So he's quite an easy boss to deal with since his attack is linear and his slow turn speed allows me to pat him with my wings over and over. After being defeated and collecting the token, we can then observe the further fuckiness of his model. But you know what? It's kind of weird though, having the villain / top 10th anime betrayal of Toy Story 2 be the second last mini boss of the game. Like, I would have saved him for last and made him a little harder, but look, I won't spoil anything, we're getting there. Also up here with a little bit of platforming, there's a little tyke to collect. And now it's back to the airplane assembly area, and dealing with the fucking fans while also jumping in this area is a pain in the ass. It's actually a little out of sequence because when I first came to this area, I collected the token without issue, and even the last little tyke was quite easy to get, but when I came here a second time to get footage of me getting the token again, these fans kept blowing me off course and making me fail my jumps. It's like I have both the worst and best luck sometimes. Anyway, I wanted to collect the token again just to do this.
To infinity and beyond!
So before I take on the final level of the game, I'm going to go back and get those pizza tokens I couldn't acquire the first time around. Like I said, it doesn't matter a hell of a lot since you only need a minimum amount of tokens to finish the game anyway, but look, I set myself to 100% this game, and I'm going to do it even if it kills me, goddammit. Now, I don't have to go back to the second level, since I cheesed RC anyway, but we do have to go back to level 5, Alleys and Gullies, and of course, I've got to collect the ducks again, going to all the areas I had been to get each one, before realizing I needed the grappling hook. You know, why not just have the grappling hook be unlocked in this level? The fact that I'm coming back here, performing a fetch quest and retreading areas I've already been to just before the very end of the game, it really breaks the flow of said game unnecessarily. Like seriously, either have all the items unlocked in the first few stages, or perhaps have these stages later in the game. And the shitty thing is, I actually kind of like the mechanics of the grappling hook in this level. Working out where to go next and hooking onto various stairwells and making crucial jumps where they're needed, trying not to fall off narrow walkways, and the added stress of falling all the way to the bottom and having to climb up again, which I did have to do, of course. Look, it's part of that good challenge type of stress. The rush you get from successfully traversing a place like this is a reward in and of itself. So yeah, I don't hate this part, I just hate the fact that I had to come back here breaking the progression to finish the game. Now, could I have remedied that by going back here as soon as I unlocked the grappling hook? Well, yes, but I would still have the same complaint about having to collect the ducklings again. And plus, there's the whole thing of wanting to go forward into the game, not backwards to a place I've already been. Of course, it's not just the 2 ducks that are up here. The boss is also at the very top of the level, and it's a fucking clown spinner thing. And of course the textures are again completely fucked up. So this guy is a little trickier to deal with than most bosses. This would have been a nice boss to face earlier on, but really it's mostly dealing with the fact that he's quite fast, and trying to keep the camera on him is more of the challenge than anything. I can imagine if there was more consequences to losing health, this might actually be a worthwhile boss. But yeah, it just suffers from, again, the same shit that not only the bosses, but also the game's difficulty suffers from. And after defeating this funny fucker,
Don't we make you laugh? Aren't we fucking funny?
collecting the token and returning the rubber ducklings, that's everything for Alleys and Gullies. Finally. Now there's Owl's Toy Barn. The only reason we come back here is to get one fucking chick on top of the boxes by using the hover boots to traverse over the boxes we couldn't get to before and make our way over to where it is. Honestly, why? Why do this? You were going so well, game. Your levels were actually quite fun and memorable. Some of them were kind of but did you really have to pad yourself out this much to the point where I have to now go back and collect every single fucking chick again because you locked my completion of this level behind a goddamn pointless item utilized only in this level in the airport? You know, at least it's not as bad as Donkey Kong 64. Oh yeah, I went there. Well, at least now it's on to the finish line. Nothing stopping us from completing this game. Time to enter Tarmac Trouble. This stage is probably my least favorite of the game by far. I'm not exaggerating. And it sucks because this is the last actual level of the game. First off, the most obvious question to ask is, what the hell is this place? I've never seen anything like this at any airport I've been to in my life. It's like a roundabout for an airplane, and there's no runway or anywhere for the plane to take off, let alone taxi to exit this fucking area. Honestly, I don't think this should have been the final level, but what else could they have done with the source material? Due to the size of the level, trying to figure out where to go next can be a bit confusing. Of course, you've got a plane circling the middle of the level, utilizing that as a means to get to various places is obvious, but missing jumps or making little mistakes is really fucking annoying in this level. There's also a lot of rocket boots around, like a lot, I guess to compensate for the size of this place, but if you're placing these for that reason, it's probably time you reassess the level design, because these are just band-aids at that point. Now, what am I forgetting to talk about here? The music, right. So the music in this level is... Seriously, what was the thought process behind making an airport level be overbearingly loud? I get it. It's an airport. They're noisy places, but this is a fucking video game. You know, you can also not have the sound of the airplane, or maybe it's the helicopter's engine, be the only thing you hear throughout the entire fucking level. You know what? I hadn't even heard the level's theme until I listened to the song separately, like outside of the game. And it has this techno dance club kind of vibe to it, you know? It's actually kind of good. Too bad you don't hear it and can barely hear yourself think while getting industrial deafness from playing this fucking level. Anyway, about the worst thing in this level to collect is the luggage, which is technically the lost toys of the level, which kind of reminds me of emotional baggage from Psychonauts. And I was rechecking areas I'd already been to make sure I got whatever was there, and I really, it just hammered in the point of the level being tedious, and also felt kind of like I was getting lost constantly, but lost in the way that everything looks kind of the same, and I got to thinking that I had already been somewhere when I hadn't, and I mean, at least the challenges are memorable, I guess. Though I don't know what the hell is going on with this light bulb puzzle. So you're supposed to ground pound these buttons to somehow get all the lights to turn on, or maybe off, and land the helicopter. I don't know if I'm just a dickhead, but I feel like I'm fucking 7 again and just pissing about with a puzzle I have no grasp of the concept of. Sometimes I think I understand how it works, then nope, you've got 3 tries to figure out what buttons to press, and to top it all off, every time you fail an attempt, the lights change to something different. I didn't know what exactly I was supposed to do, because it felt like the buttons I pushed didn't correlate to what was actually turning on and off. I got fucking tired of this shit and just randomly stomped with no regard, to which eventually, somehow it worked. I don't know what the fuck I did different. I feel like a fucking dumbass. Like, compared to the puzzles in the other stages, this should have been easy, but I couldn't figure this out. Anyway, that landed the helicopter, allowed me to get the token that was on it, one step closer to the end, I guess. The last time challenge of the game, Slinky gives you in the middle of the stage, right by by the flagpole across the dirt track through the toxic sludge. No, it's not grass. I don't know what it's doing at this airport either. This city seems to have an epidemic of green goo everywhere. Honestly, the EPA needs to do that thing they did in the Simpsons movie and dome the entire fucking place. Seeing as toys have also become sentient from coming in contact with it, but that's just a theory. Anyway, Slinky gives you 67 seconds to complete the entire track without jumping and without taking damage from the sludge. And I gotta say, this is actually something I enjoyed. I only failed once because Buzz's foot touched the sludge ever so delicately on a most singular of minuscule of pixels, but overall it was a fair time challenge that felt like my movement skills had been put to the test, and the camera didn't screw me over that much. The boss of the level is a walrus-mustached blacksmith with a bullshit attack that I can sometimes avoid and other times get hit by it. I mean, he's otherwise a pushover, and even just letting him hit you, it doesn't take as much damage as you do to him with a spin attack because, of course, he can't be shot. Definitely a step up from the other bosses, but feels kind of janky trying to avoid his attack that just homes in on you from the ground, and I think it has something to do with the timing of your jumps, but I don't know, and honestly, just spam hitting him was the better strategy anyway before I could figure anything out. And so that's pretty much it for the uniqueness of this stage. Finding the coins was of course the easy part, and the luggage, by the way, doesn't just stay in one place like other toy collectibles, it bounces everywhere, which it would have been something interesting if you had to chase one down, but it amounts to nothing, I'm afraid. It's just an over-glorified animation. Anyway, we're done here. My ears are now ringing because that propeller sound did not stop once, and I'm going to sue Disney for hearing loss. And the reason for my tinnitus, because I've had it since I was a kid, and I think it was this fucking stage. Actually, it's not really, because I never fucking got to the stage, but yeah, I'm suing them anyway. Now, after a short FMV of Jesse being saved from the plane, one of the last scenes of the movie, you would think that's the end, right? Oh, how wrong you would be, my naive viewers. There's still one last pointless boss fight to finish off, and it's Stanky Pete with his two fuck buddies, the bullshit human walrus and Jewish cowboy Waluigi. And about the only thing difficult to deal with is the goddamn camera fucking about the place, because apparently, despite the FMV, we're actually inside the plane currently flying in air and saving the damsels in distress, Jesse and Woody. Was this necessary? Could they have maybe had the prospect to be the final boss and made it at least a little challenging? Or better yet, maybe skew the source material just a little bit so you can make Zurg the final boss. This is Buzz Lightyear to the rescue after all, but look, I get it. This is a licensed game, a tie-in to a movie. The past 3 stages are a testament to that, and it's probably not Traveler's Tales' fault that the game ends this way. I mean, given the fact that I played through this game and had a generally fun time doing so, most of the levels were pretty competent and showed a lot of potential, but really just end with a wet fart of a conclusion. And that's it. You don't get anything for gathering all the tokens, there's no bonus features, nothing to really make your efforts worthwhile. Of the 10 stages and 5 tokens in each, it's not hard to do, but there should have been some sort of achievement at least. Anyway, time for my final thoughts. The game is an imperfect gem. A flawed gem, if you will. In some ways, my nostalgia wishes it could be something of a hidden masterpiece, but in reality, it's just an okay, middle ground 3D platformer. It's a classic in its own regard, and I think it deserves every bit of praise and the things it does right, but there are little hang-ups here and there which do need to be pointed out. There's not a hell of a lot wrong with it, really. There's just little gripes I have that stand out like a sore thumb when they make themselves known. Going through the negatives first, I think the main gripe I have is difficulty, and this also extends to the bosses, as every boss in the game, be it the 5 main ones or the mini-bosses in each level, being easy and trivial. With the exception of some, of course, having their own little challenges, you can mostly just breeze through every encounter by spamming your laser or just tanking the hits, because it's really hard to die in this game. You have to really try to get yourself killed. It's not impossible, but the only times I died, really, were when I fought Zurg for the first time, and once at the end, but there was no real consequences at all to losing a life, because I never got a game over. I never had to replay a stage again. Then there's also that part of me reflecting on how easy it is, because I'm not the demographic for this game anymore. I'm older now. When I was a kid, I wasn't good at this game. I wasn't good at any game really, but maybe it's because I've played much more challenging and mechanically complex 3D platformers over the years that I don't really have any trouble with this. Still, the criticism stands, as you can have games that appeal to children and give them some amount of challenge to overcome. I certainly wasn't good at Banjo-Kazooie or Mario 64, given their difficulty sometimes, yet I still loved those games growing up, and I can play these games even today and still feel they are challenging me in some way. The next gripe I have is with the power-ups. power-ups, and not just the more annoying things like progression being locked by them in the 2/3 levels that occurs. Well, I suppose that's not really a gripe I have with power-ups. They're fine for the most part, I guess, just a little unnecessary, and I mean, they could have just been incorporated in Buzz's moveset. The first one you get, the force field, is useless, and I can't really think of any time I actually needed it, aside from the one time in our space world. Because the one in Andy's house, you can just tank the damage the toxic goo does to you. The disc launcher is basically a homing ability that doesn't seem to work half the time. Maybe it could have something to do with frame rate, but I really don't know. Again, only used in certain situations. The rocket boots have their use as a means to give yourself temporary speed, but again, they're only in a few levels, and they're only useful for those few times they're placed purposefully. The grappling hook? Why is that not just a switchable mode for Buzz? And you could have utilized them in more than 2 levels at the very least. The hover boots are just shit. I've got nothing constructive for the hover boots. They serve no purpose outside of 2 sections of 2 levels, and they are horrible to control. You could have just replaced them with some sort of temporary springy high jump, and maybe then it would have been less annoying, but this is what we got. So that's it, really. These 2 issues I have, the difficulty, the items, maybe the last 2 levels of the game not being that interesting. If these things I mentioned were more fleshed out and had some work put into them, I would regard this as an imperfect masterpiece. But look, I'm not going to let those gripes ruin my enjoyment for the other, let's say, 85% of the game. Now, let's get to the positives and talk about probably one of the best things about this game, the soundtrack. If I didn't mention how good the soundtrack to this game is, it would be sacrilege. There's so many good level themes, and all of them have their own style that fit the mood they inhabit. Andy Blythe and Martin Joustra are the composers of this game, and they've also composed several other Traveler's Tales games. They've essentially composed what I would say is probably among one of the most memorable video game soundtracks of all time, and you wouldn't expect that from something like this game, you know? Looking from the outside and judging a book by its cover, or a genre by its products might be more accurate, tie-in and licensed games over the past 30 years, with some exceptions of course, are kind of known for just being shit shovelware and low-effort trash. However, as soon as you enter the first level, it perfectly captures the essence of Buzz Lightyear, and with every level there's always some kind of new feeling to it, and it gets you pumped up for every mission Buzz embarks upon, except for Tarmac Travel, which made my tinnitus worse. The game, along with its music, brings back memories of simpler times when we could spend hours playing and exploring the Toy Story universe alongside the cool space ranger Buzz Lightyear. The game itself is also from a time when 3D platformers were fresh out of the water and trying out all manner of new things, copying the brilliant formula for 3D platformers that Super Mario 64 started and other great 3D platformers built on top of and perfected. The platforming is simple yet engaging, and like I said, there's a certain mastery to the controls and mechanics that kind of make you feel like you're speedrunning sometimes. So I have nothing but praise for the controls that actually work. There are far worse 3D platformer games out there whose only sin is the control of the character you play as. And though the graphics, given the time they come from, can be considered dated by comparison to today's standards, the attention to detail in some levels, you can tell there was an amount of care that was put into this game. Some of the levels really emphasize that toy-sized perspective of the world, and really do feel like they are straight from the movie. While Toy Story 2 BLT The Rescue may not be the most advanced or complex 3D platformer out there, neither will it reach the same heights as the legends in this genre. It serves as an excellent reminder of how much joy and entertainment can come from simpler times and even the most unexpected of places. And so ends this retro review. Overall, a game that isn't perfect by any stretch of the matter, but no game really is. But it has its moments, and as long as you can ignore certain things, it's a fun nostalgia trip and it's worth playing through. Anyway, that's the end of this. Now time to figure out who's been changing my goddamn controllers. And look, we all know it's One-Eyed Willy over here.
Oh really now, Hotshot? You think if I had the power to change your silly little game contraptions, I'd be wasting it on that?
Well, you are the only one with magical powers here.
Maybe it's my ex-wife. She always knew how to make things disappear. Like my money.
Look, I don't know what's been doing it, and it ain't me neither.
Bet you just want to practice so you don't end up as a goddamn fleshlight or a blow-up doll.
Maybe I should practice my magic to turn you into a Japanese on-a-hole.
Why don't you just turn yourself into a sex machine? Then you can go fuck yourself. Oh, why can't we all just get along?
Alright. I regret asking and accusing now. I'm just going to stop this conversation here before we get our entire channel age-restricted or worse, banned. Right. No matter where you are in the world, no matter what time it is, as always, stay safe and have a nice day. Hello there, Sean the Extra Guy here again to thank you for watching Retro in Review, Toy Story 2, Buzz Lightyear to the Rescue Part 2, and yes, it really does all rhyme, and that was not intended. So, funnily enough, this is actually a week late than what I intended, but at least it didn't take a year to make. Or 3. Alright, so anyway, if you want to check out my other stuff, I've got a Twitch channel, which is where I've been spending a lot of my time, I guess. And I've got a Discord, if you want to join that and shoot the shit and share memes and hang out with people, you can check that down below. Anyway, so yeah, so that's about all I need to say. Thanks again. And of course, as always, no matter where in the world, no matter what time it is, stay safe and have a nice day.